A secret house against Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture conversations about underground, independent, abstract, avant-garde, experimental hip-hop type of music. Largely, the underground cats and the cats that are doing it without labels. And even if they do work with a label, they still come from that tradition, that lineage, that sound. So me and Jet, we're right here, your regular host, and today we got the big homie Jeno, West Coasty. We was just talking about growing up in Inglewood and going to the horse track and buying those 5 for $20 t-shirts with a Looney Tune character. Hell yeah. So shout out to that. Today we've got together to discuss the new Sadistik and Maulskull collaborative album. It is called Oblivion Theater. Hard title. 13 songs, 49 minutes. It just came out the other day, 23rd, I think. Before we get into this, man, I want to give a shout out to one of our patrons, our homies, and one of the kind of the heart of our Discord.
The beating heart of our Discord.
Shout out to our guy Barun. He's a longtime supporter of us and independent music. He actually, even though we have streaming and stuff, and we often take the Patreon money and purchase an album that we review on the show just to support real art and not just be trying to get the streaming numbers up, he purchased us this album because he really appreciates Sadistik's music. In fact, he's constantly putting money down to support underground, independent, abstract, avant-garde, experimental hip-hop folks. His collection, we haven't seen the full collection, but he seems to get everything. He seems to get everything. Yeah, he's a real dope cat. So shout out to him, and also shout out to our other patrons and the people on the screen right now that we rock with. Before we get into the album, let's discuss how we're familiar with Sadistik and or Maulskull. For me, I'll just go ahead and say that I have heard of Sadistik for years, and I have even heard a few of his tracks over those years. I recall back when I used to watch Dead End Hip Hop a little bit more often, I recall Mike Seatown mentioning him a number of times, and despite me always agreeing with Mike more than probably any of the other guys on that great show, I just never really jumped into the album. But I do know that I've heard collaborations with Sadistik in like the Idea track, and also Baron gave me some a recommendation to listen to 2019's Haunted Gardens, I think. And I walked away with one of those songs in my pocket. It is one of my favorite songs that year. So how do you all know Sadistik?
An acquaintance of mine had the cover for Phantom Limbs as his avatar online, and he was like, "Oh, you like hip hop? Check this guy out." And yeah, he sent me some Sadistik stuff. Okay. But this is a long time coming revisitation of his work.
Yeah,
like I think I'd heard the collab with Idea, the late great Idea, which had come out maybe the year before, like 2014, a couple years after Idea had passed. Yeah. But yeah, this is the first time in a very long time I'm like sitting down and listening to a record.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I'll say that I took a serious listen to his music. I didn't just put it on the background, try to vibe. I really try to interrogate it and inspect it and listen to the qualities that make other people enjoy him so much. But what about you?
This is my first go round. Yeah, you guys introduced me, and I went back and just online went to read a little bit, and I see he has a little bit of a discography. He's put out a few projects.
Been around a minute.
It did make me want to listen to a little more. So and I'll reveal some comments too.
No doubt.
As we go on. Yeah.
No doubt. Maulskull. Don't know anything about Maulskull. I was really impressed with his production, so I'll have to go ahead and tap into the type of work that he does. Y'all know Maulskull at all?
Nah, but I do think the production was just all around well produced. It was a well produced project.
Yeah, he's really talented. He got a couple of features on this album too. We've got Crazy Bone of the well known Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yep.
Also a person named Father, who I'm not familiar with, and
Sugar Cult.
But I liked it.
Who is Father?
Father's an MC who kind of came up in the early 10s, I guess. I really liked his album I'm a Piece of Shit.
Okay.
And his joint Everybody in the Club Getting Shot. That was also tight. Yeah.
Well, we all got black dads, and sometimes we don't know Father. No, all right. That was really bad. Cut. We're removing that. No, but I don't know Father, but shout out because it was a solid feature too. So let's get into our general thoughts on the album. What do y'all? Should I go first?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay. this, like I said, this is kind of my really first time listening to Sadistik seriously. I think it's a really interesting album. The sonic values, the lyrical content, and imagery make it a really unique project, at least in my hip-hop experience. Sadistik and Maulskull really crafted a lived-in world that gives a wholly different vibe and feel from anything else I really sat with. Sadistik is an incredible, writer, poet, rap styler that uses a lot of dope, a variety of approaches. His insight and philosophical worldview has like an openness that feels genuine and organic and not plastic. And I'll get into that a little bit more, considering like what I was thinking this was going to be about. But Maulskull has also made a really cohesive and varied canvas for Sadistik to paint on. He's putting a lot of these high-level production techniques that makes this shit sound like it was done in $100,000 studio. This album sounds
immaculate,
expensive. It sounds clean. It sounds like what an independent artist should perhaps strive for, this level of fidelity. And now, after listening to this, I see why Sadistik has such a committed following, championing him as one of the most talented but underappreciated artists. I didn't love everything here, but the stuff that I liked, I really, really liked. And yeah, man, same with Maulskull. Like some of the moments, some of the songs on this album blew me away. But yeah, that's my general thoughts on it so far.
Yeah, I was definitely a little cautious initially, just based off the whole aesthetic. Skulls. Obviously, got a skull on the cover. Maulskull. Jubilee of Rot sounds like a Dark Souls boss. You got the end is nigh, pig's blood, magic, bad vibes. Like I was kind of expecting something a little more like a horrorcore.
Yeah, indeed.
And there is the aesthetic of that. There is like a dark fantasy going on,
but it's polished for a pop.
Very polished
pop.
But it's also like really ill.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's like it doesn't feel
like
like
a pop album. That's
it's not.
No.
But like, yeah, it's polished to that level of shine.
Yeah, that's what
like
I'm saying.
It's really, really polished. Like it sounds phenomenal. I would love to hear this album through some big speakers and just like in a dark room. If I could just
nice car system at night,
break into Team Labs at night,
drive
and just blast it through their PA.
Or maybe not drunk driving.
Things going on.
Yeah.
Team Lab would be wild, especially the room. I took my daughter there.
The cushion room.
No, the cushion room's dope, but there's a room with like knee-high water in it now. It's all warm, and like it's piss and shit. But yeah, there's lights. But yeah, that would be this album would be crazy in there, amazing. For. Oh, go ahead, Jeno. Do you got an overall thought or
overall? I do think it was a very unique project. I've got to say, I'm gonna call it punk hop, and what I mean is like when you think of like rock compared to punk rock, punk rock is a little bit more extreme. It's the edginess. And I mean, I don't want to call this the edginess of hip hop. Hip hop's edgy already. We grew up talking about shootouts. So it's edgy. But where do you go from there, especially if you're white coming into the game or something? I think it's take it in the punk way that you know how to take it. So it's a little dark on the he has a line something like I'm a vampire, and
punk
these lines, I think so it's a touch of that darkness, but the aesthetic of it is there. He doesn't dwell too deep, and I think that's on purpose because I think he's looking for that fine line. Like I want everybody to kind of relate to this strangeness,
I don't think it's a monolith of blackness that kind of avoids metal and things like that. Like I said, Mike Seatown loves this. I did grow up with my sisters thinking that me listening to Faith No More, the Misfits was a little like devil music and shit like that. Yeah, I got older black sisters and
Pearl Jam.
But one of the things like I think that things like the death metal font are a little bit like plasticky to me. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, you guys are putting on costumes. Like there's something about Sadistik that doesn't feel like generic, like I'm deep and dark and gloomy.
Authentic,
I'm deep and dark and gloomy all the time, and now I have to. Now I go to my office job. You know what I mean? But as for some of the themes and the lyrics, I do think it's easy to use words like goth and macabre and horrorcore, describe the music as gloomy, dark, psychedelic, and such. But I don't think that they really touch on the deeper philosophical elements that are going on in this music. I think a lot of those.
I mean, it's almost like Big Just like in places. Some of the choice of words and shit you have in here. Or Rottweiler, gargoyle, dark stain, motor oil, fear replace the brain with a wasp hive, silver leg silhouettes dancing like they're vampires.
He's a rapper.
It's like rap.
Yeah.
You know, I hear Sharif here.
Golden Landscape. Yeah.
He rhymed werewolves with scarecrows.
It's kind of like, you know, a lot of those terms are very performative values in culture. It's like dressing punk without the ideological tendency, or you know, the heavy metal font. But I hear a lot of, on top of just being a dope rapper, I hear a lot of occult mysticism in this work. The esoteric, you know, Aleister Crowley, Antario Ali, Discordianism, you know, magic with a K, which is, you know, self-actualization, transformation, overcoming, Godhead. You know, every verse is like a spell or a sigil or a song practice ritual to bring people into his order or to cast chaos into others and find his own place in the cosmic order. There's a lot of those type of cosmic duality here of good and evil and where he sits and how he navigates that and how he feels outside of that, but it also makes him feel more powerful and things. You know, I spent a lot of time with that type of stuff when I was earlier, and I feel like I can pull some really powerful thoughts and just ideas from this work. And that's on top of him just being a tremendous wordsmith, crafting MC who has fucking styles. Like
what?
Hella
he has
styles,
a lot of different rhyme
Yeah.
patterns. I noticed that you know, he'll break out a style for a verse, and I'm like, oh yeah, he switched up the flow on here, like really switched it up. It's not the same here and then the rhyme hits here. It was like it might be 3 or 4 of the same rhymes in one line, and that'll be his pattern for the verse.
Like he'll hit like a double time triplets and just kill on it.
Yeah,
and
you know what I mean?
You know, it's deeply poetic, but it's not flowery bar style poetic, you know what I mean? It's shifting perspectives and philosophical musings, but also the occasional braggadocio or abstract paintings that you would get from an unmistakably hip-hop artist. He's hella hip-hop. He's an MC's MC. You'll get like a Killer Cam reference and then like a reference about like fucking Videodrome, you know, Pink is Killer Cam, Long Live the New Flesh. And it's in a form of high level lyricism with lots of poetic devices and styles and cadences and approaches that even like the most upturned nose, you know, New York rapper, lyrical miracle connoisseur would appreciate. Like, this is a master craftsman, and the skill is the thing that was apparent to me immediately. It was trying to figure out the whole project and how I felt about the sound that took me more of a second. But yeah, I walked away being like, damn, Sadistik is really dope. It's not necessarily the type of energy or atmosphere that I like to surround myself with sonically, but yeah, some of these are undoubtedly that. One of my favorite joints on here is excuse me, I've got a million notes here. Hold on.
Shoot off.
Alaskan Snow with Sugar Cult. Like oh man, like I it's like about his mother and father meeting and his upbringing, and it's very easy to follow. You know, he'll go abstract and he'll go like very clear. Daddy grew through his acts of love. Mama's heart always had its holes. And then like 3 days later he proposed. Pain and love became apropos. It's wonderful. And the movement of this joint just really spoke to me. He's very eloquently bombing this precise metered style, and Sugar Cult's haunting wailing vocals behind it just are so beautiful in a like in a very like it almost feels cathartic. It feels something is going on there. And then in that second verse he just explodes out of the beat, and the pocket that he finds is so smooth and dope. And what here can I just put that on for just a second, because you know, I'm describing sound when I could play it because we don't care about
copyright.
Yeah, we don't care about copyright. I'm trying to get a point across and get you guys to take this music seriously and fucking listen to it. But hold on, like here we go. right? So Sugarcoat's, singing, and it's hard to decipher, and I don't know who Sugarcoat is, but like listen to this just like full world that they create, and it sounds cold and icy like Alaska, and
Absolutely.
but so the beat is like Maulskull.
Maulskull, yeah.
He's chopping up that vocal sample so well, but in the second movement of the song, he takes a part of the vocal sample, the singing of the chorus, and bounces it, pans it from like ear to ear on this like really weird syncopation with the lyrics, and I was like, this is and it's just loud and clear, but it's so smooth at like, hold on, 2:28. Let me just skip ahead so we don't have to listen too much for like, but yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Wait, let me hear the bounce. It's so different than the first part, and it's just clean. Made me listen to the wisdom I cherish now. Hard to pay attention to the windows I was staring out. Called out of class just so I could see a therapist. Advice on the ride at the time is generic now. Every night. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It took me, like, the first song I heard off of this album was the single Shibari. And for those who don't know, Shibari is like a form of bondage in which you'll like suspend
BDSM.
someone, you tie them up. It's like a BDSM thing.
You see the red ropes,
but it has like an artistic kind of thing going on.
A performance,
and it took me like a minute, like, oh, what specifically, what was the relevance of that particular theme relative to the more kind of gothic and abstract fantasy kind of themes of the rest of the album. How did it fit together? But that sense of like suspended animation, that sense of being suspended in the air is like really prevalent on like the whole record. So much of the production in particular, on Magic, it's like you have this crystalline environment that has been kind of crafted all around you, and it really does have that sensation of suspense that I think just really works wonders on this record.
Yeah, he's incredible, and on top of just like saying he's a dope lyricist, the things that he's saying in the message is like, so where does your happiness hide? Disappearing act match the decline. Invocations made me capture divine. Acupuncture mind grandeur designs. Yeah. We can have a seance cast. I mean, the song is called Magic. It's obviously clear that he's familiar with the occult. And like, there's things on this that I feel as though I'm not getting quite towards the total meaning of the album, but because the way that he creates these like vignettes of visions or these things that he's trying to evoke, like on the end of Alaskan Snow, he ends it with dozen burning horses going round in a carousel, dozen burning horses go round, and it's like, if you think about like numerology and spells and shit, right? A dozen burning horses going around, 12 months, the zodiac signs, 12 disciples, 12 tribes. Like there's almost like a feeling as though that you're missing part of what he's getting at, and it makes you want to listen more and try to put together the pieces. But you also kind of have to be initiated to
even
that.
Know it means something.
You know what I mean?
It's just like touching on the edges for you to know it.
He'll say something like, I kissed Kali on her cheek, and it's like, are you talking about the Kali Yuga, like the era that we're in now? And there's so many things that show that he's perhaps perhaps well read, or at least having intentions. When you listen to A Letter to a Neon Spectre, I feel like there's a part of that puzzle there. A lot of the lines are about body parts, right? But it'll also be like 8 limbs, like Muay Thai. He'll put some cool MC rapper shit in there, but then you got the hairs cross hairs frayed, like hairs crossing and fraying hairs. You've got the Long Live the New Flesh line, which is Videodrome, and talking about the relationship with media and spectacle, and cutting off limbs, mannequin skin, carbon heart, a bunch of stuff. And there's just so many things that I feel like perhaps a bar whisperer might be able to uncover, or perhaps there's media out there of Sadistik, explaining what he wanted to invoke behind that. Because even if you don't get deep like that, it's beautiful. There are just simple lines like, Pain behind my eyes like plastic and cassette tapes. Maybe I'm divine. Couldn't match it on your best day. Pain behind my eyes like plastic and cassette tapes. Like the real part, the actual part, the new flesh part of a cassette tape is not what it's made out of. It's what is like the essence of it, in the music inside of it. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's some of this shit just feel like I need to like figure it out a little bit. And I like music that's challenging like that. Yeah. Even if I don't make the effort to reward myself, I go back and I listen to it and I'm just like, yeah, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Searching through dirt for some ataraxia, which is like what is that? Like Heideggerian like thrownness, a subtle calmness. Yes. It's like the disconnection from ego, like when you're watching a movie and you forget that you're watching a movie and you fall into the experience of the whole thing. Like, searching through the dirt for that, bro. Yeah. My Adam's acting up, sad and panic struck. He be on some shit. Night stays profound. I can't find the sunlight. Beams from my mouth are as bright as floodlights. Mouth beams of light. I'm fuck with that. That's bars. That's fucking rapping. That's me. I'm beams super dope. That's God body shit. This is very much like a portion of, you know, we get a lot of God body 5%ers that bomb a lot of this very holy, esoteric, historically significant history nuances of all of these, you know, philosophical and dogmatic theological bullshit, right? But this is like another part of that. And I like it, you know what I mean? Because it's not something I'm super privy to, but I also am. And it's good to have an artist that takes it seriously to that level. Yeah. One thing that I would have liked to hear on this album, to be honest with you, is like, I would have liked to hear other artists that are kind of on that type of tip.
Wheelhouse.
I would have, you know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit? Like Halo Boy by
Alloate
and Eli. I feel like Noah 23, who does songs called like albums called Occult Trill. He's into numerology and a lot of the deeper things that I feel come through on this album from Sadistik. And so I would like to hear that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's not a critique of the album, like it needed it, but it to me, I would have been like, wow, they would fit together in a really dope way.
Expand upon it.
Yeah.
He had the one feature with Crazy Bone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, that was interesting to hear one of the Bone Thugs. You know,
I think he came off.
I think he came off, you know, for
part
Crazy
of the
Bone.
joy of it is just how that's like one of the last people I would expect to see.
Yeah.
He definitely has something positive to say, so you always get points for that regardless, you know, and he has something good to say. But you know, there's one thing I thought that was funny. He said a phrase and it's just weird with me.
Open carry towards the cop? Because that one was like, that was wild. I'm definitely not white enough for that one.
Open carry towards the cop. That was the one, yeah. What did Crazy Bone say in that one song? He said, human racism. Okay, that was what I wanted to say. Something in his like human racism.
Yeah.
I guess it just hit me like, is there another racism? I didn't know. I mean, human racism.
Speciesism.
But, you know, I'm just being funny. But, you know, he came off for Crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. And, you know, you could tell that like Crazy Bone Crazy Bone didn't just say, oh man, I got this guy who I don't know what the relationship is, but it definitely wasn't. Oh man, this guy won't give me some money to be on his album. Shit, he a white boy. Let me just do a little thing. Yeah. No, because what Crazy Bone is talking about is on theme.
Yeah,
it's on point.
Match the energy.
He matched the energy, and that's why, like, if I was just listening to it, I would be like, is that fucking Crazy Bone?
Right.
And I have to really question it because I like that fool sound just like Crazy Bone. But even though Bone Thugs and Harmony also deal with, you know, God and the devil and the afterlife and themes in their music, I would still be like, wait a second, like he talking some shit here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I like this, the first opening track, graffiti on my shell, snake feeding on itself, all the people's paper mouths are exhaust pipes, snake feeding on itself, you know, that's classic Ouroboros symbolism. Graffiti on my shell, you know, turtles all the way down, but also just my shell and hip hop. Like this album is a lot like an Aesop Rock, where it's like very much doing something different, but adhering to all of the elements that you would expect from hip hop. Like Aesop Rock's one of the few cats that talks about like 4-element hip hop culture. Graffiti has scratching on his records still like that, you know what I mean? That is doing something progressive. And this album, like, I don't want to hear, oh yeah, it's like horrorcore. Fool, this
What?
is hip hop. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
hip hop.
yeah.
The important part about it is like the originality is coming from this guy who is about this stuff, and he's extremely dope at that stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
It's
gotta
like hip hop
give him
through and
his
through,
lane.
bro. This I'm a sadistic fan now. Shit.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
My
It
only
made me
real
wanna
issue.
listen to
Sorry, go
more.
ahead.
No, go on.
My only real issue with this record is that like every now and then we get like a hook, like a proper hook, and I think the hooks are a little weak compared to the rest of the
He
record.
doesn't need it. I think it will serve him to even just pull those out and just keep flowing and let the beat breathe a little bit, come
Sure.
back. He
All
don't even
the
need 'em.
colors
he's
will
good
agree
enough.
in the
He's good
dark.
enough.
All my lovers agreed, killed.
But
you know,
but let me tell you, this is why when it ventured into the word pop, it's
Because it's structured like pop.
and I think I didn't want to say that as a diss because I think I relate to him a lot because I think he's trying to do something that I would like to do. It's like you feel like, you know, I sit down and sometimes I write some wild shit, you know, and I think nobody's gonna understand this kind of shit, and so I've been on a quest to not tone it down, but write it as wild as I want, but make the most people understand what I'm doing. You know, so trying to figure out how that balance works, and I think in somewhere in his mind he's doing something similar because he's got that darkness and it's good. It sounds right, you know, and he knows what he's talking about, but it seems like he's balancing it off, not depriving himself of being free, but in a
It ain't as try hard as every Eminem album has.
Purposeful
to have
way.
A
This is what I wanna
breakout,
do,
like
you know, this
a
is
break,
what I
a
wanna do.
crossover track and shit. Like, yeah,
It's just-
it's
that's what I wanna
conventional in a lot of its you know, verse, chorus,
trappings,
bridge.
So I think he got
you know
some
what I mean,
hooks.
type
Yeah,
of
so
work.
I end up
but
doing
yeah,
that a lot.
I feel
being
you.
conventional, but then I understand some hooks won't work when you go in that route.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
That's why I like that.
Bad vibes. If I was you, I'd hate me too. Vampire. If I was you, I'd hate me too.
Yeah, that
Black
wasn't my-
Ice.
that
I was
wasn't the
kinda,
right
eh.
hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Which like I like the rest of the track. Like
The double time at the end.
double
here
time
is-
at the end's
is-
fucking
is
ill.
great.
Dope.
I think it's
So put me to sleep when you wake me to death if you learn to buy it.
And I want to talk about that.
Can you
Pig's
pull up?
blood.
Well, hold on. The lyrics on this
yeah.
shit are crazy too.
Yeah, right. Listen to that flow. He's hitting every spot, every syllable. Yeah.
And the shit he's saying too is just like it's not as it's not like Osama Obama, you know what I mean? Jeffrey
Right,
Dahmer.
right.
It's
Parameters.
yeah. It's not orange, you know, like Silas I've been skull inside the bullet diamond hole. I die and I bled the venom out and never bled again. I let the terror down in epinephrine. Yo, he's like.
Nah, you're right.
Yeah, he kills it. My
I'm just
wings
not
are
with
shredded
the-
down.
with the
I let
hook,
the
but
feathers
these
shed.
verses.
Yeah. I breathe the tepid clouds and effervescence in. I keep my weapons out with bullets left for them, cause heavy is the crown that wears the severed head and hollowed is the ground I bury devils in. Fucking hard, bro. He's dope.
that's a
He's
line.
dope. Like, yeah.
Fine.
But that, you know, I
Hallowed
was
is the
actually,
ground I bury
you know,
devils in.
I'm 40 years old, and I remember when Eminem was first coming out, and we would still be getting like wake up show freestyles and shit from him. And I remember hearing stories about like, you know, Pedestrian and Dose One and people battling him and him being around Juice and making those circles, and you know, the songs with the Outsiders and shit like that. And we were fans, but when I have never loved an Eminem album, and a big part of it are the choruses. A big part of it is his approach to trying to make the music he wants, I guess. But I just never stuck with it. And the Bad Vibes chorus is a little bit kind of that.
A little XXX Tentacion. Like, yeah.
But that verse, it just,
But the verse is
you know,
fucking-
and I guess
the
that's the
verse
same
fucking
thing
crazy,
people
yeah.
say about M too. But like, also the subject matter to me is just more interesting than most of the stuff that M's ever said. And I don't mean to compare. Hey, here's a white rapper. Let's compare a white rapper to a white rapper that's doing a white rap. But yeah, because I think that's one of the least interesting parts of it. Like I said,
just the scale and
Yeah.
the grandiosity of this album. You know, when like for all of the sort of like lowercase g gothic elements of the album, like it has that capital G gothic cathedral like scale to it. The album's so like
Grandiose.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Even this joint, Pig's Blood, which is kind of like a trappy.
I was gonna
With
say
Father?
this joint.
Yeah.
I was riding it. I was riding with it. There was some, I heard the N word in there twice. I heard nigga, then I was like, wait,
Hold on.
is this? Yeah, twice.
Yeah,
should
no,
I say that? I'm
father
sorry.
is black.
Yes.
Yeah.
Father
Okay,
is
let me make sure I know that. Okay, that's why I was like,
Nah.
that was my next question.
Nah.
Was it him rapping or the other dude? I was
Yeah.
like, okay, all right. But this song went hard. I think the flow was interesting. I like his flow on this.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh,
It's hard, but, like,
you
yeah,
can do that, bro.
couldn't get away with that.
Yeah, that's a little bit, yeah.
Nah, you ain't gonna last long. You got about 10 more
I ain't
seconds.
that, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we grew up in Inglewood, and shit, you
yeah,
know what I mean? In the
yeah.
90s. We was there
There you
during the
go.
Rodney King riots.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
No, but this album is spectacular, man. Shout out to Barham for putting this down. I highly recommend people get towards this, and even if you're the type of person who doesn't care for any of these themes at all, it's still an interesting step into. This is not a horror movie. This is deep and dense, and there's a lot of real magic with the K happening on this shit, bro. Like, for real. All that stuff I still rock with, man. I still kind of create sigils for myself, and you know what I mean? Sacred geometry and a lot of things. I still rock with a lot of that. Being a materialist, it's one of the things that is the biggest contradiction about my Marxist dialectical material ass. But favorite songs. Favorite songs, easily Alaskan Snow is number one for me. Letter to a Neon Spectre, and man, one last thing.
Here we go.
In a Maze Made of Glass, tremendous capstone of the album. I think that's my last favorite track. You know, it has a really dope media sample at the end from like this wonderful 1981 film. But yeah. If you guys know that film, like, hell yeah, but it's a great film. She's saying like, I can't exist by myself because I'm afraid of myself, because I'm the maker of my own evil, because and then it ends. It is a fucking hard, beautifully well produced track. If I forgot to say one thing about this album, it's how incredible Maulskull is. Zero. Like, I mean, there's like samples and shit, right? But man, he really is doing something. Yeah. None of these sample grabs, if they're not from the Great American Songbook. It's a dope musician going off on a DAW with instruments and just it's
very
incredible.
musical too.
Yeah.
It's no loops.
He does some of the choruses on this too, and the ones that I think he's doing a chorus on. Cause shout out to the Sadistik fans who went and put all the lyrics on Genius. That helps me a lot, and I appreciate being able to read lyrics with art like this. So yeah, did I say my three?
You did.
A Maze Made of Glass, Alaskan Snow, Letter to a Neon Spectre, and Hypodermic Forest number one. Feels like a Mobius strip. I love that.
Yeah, the Hypodermic
In fact,
Forest.
The first song and the last song feel like a Mobius strip, so I'll just count those as one. How else can I cheat?
Jubilee of Rot, Magic, ! Alaskan Snow.
I like that.
Beautiful.
Jubilee of Rot was dope.
Okay.
Do we truly see them stars as a beauty to your flaws? Yeah. He has some lines in there I like that. Like I said, he rhymed werewolves with scarecrows. I think that's ill when you know how to rhyme words that don't rhyme. I love that as art. So Jubilee of Rot. I think the Hypodermic Forest was the music was incredible. That's a dope song right there. And that Pig's Blood just stands out because it stood out from the rest of the songs on the project. So it gave me a nice little
That's the
break,
first one you put on when you get in the car.
palate cleanser.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's I'm starting up the engine with this one, Yeah.
Yeah, but listen to like this music, bro. Like, yeah, we're out of here. Get a little bit of this. Secret House Against. Patrons on the screen. Shout out to Sadistik and Maulskull. Shout out to everybody that supports the channel. Read theory and enjoy yourself. Roundhouse kick cops and show a collection of records.
Due to our strong personal convictions, we wish to stress that this album review in no way endorses a belief in the occult. Michael Jackson.
Thank you. Yeah. And we're gonna turn around with the yellow eyes. Yeah.
That would have been it.